Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sam Caucci, founder and CEO of One Huddle, to discuss why companies need to be really good at reskilling and retraining. Sam, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me.
All right, companies are obviously struggling to find workers. We see it in the data. What are the companies that are successful? What are they doing?
Yeah, I think companies that are successful right now have had a really strong infrastructure in place even before the pandemic. We're seeing companies that have retained workers, companies that have done a really good job recruiting new workers. These are organizations that have had the right people in place, the right leadership in place. And I can't emphasize enough how technology from an infrastructure perspective has really helped these organizations keep people together. They're not cutting costs. They're leaning into technology to power the future of work.
And Sam, I've seen numbers where, there's reports 50 to 70% of employees will be switching jobs. I mean, that's pretty big for the workforce. This is really high in the service sector, especially. Why do you think that is?
I think people are choosing, a better path for the trade of their time for a wage. Harvard Business Review just came out with a study. They found that 2 out of every 3 restaurant and retail workers have left the industry, and 1 in 3 are never coming back. Now, why is that? Yeah, I think that during the COVID moment, people started to evaluate culture, evaluate family, evaluate where they want to spend their time. And in many cases, they made a switch. And this is really bad news for those industries that are going to have to find ways to create more buzz for new talent to come in, because some of the former talent's just not coming back.
Right. And the Great Re-Onboarding has begun. Where do companies need to be really good at reskilling and retraining? What type of tech companies should companies invest in so that their workers are skilled up, they're ready, and they're engaged?
Only 9% of companies invest in a technology that makes workforce development and training 52 weeks a year. 80% of the US workforce is doing a job where they haven't had any significant reskilling in the last 5 years. It means that if the re-onboarding exercise that's going to happen means companies need to lay down technology that is mobile first. That's the first thing I'll say. If your workforce training can't reach everybody where they are, you're missing out. It also needs to be something employees want to do. And too much workforce training kind of feels like you're back in high school. You watch the video, you take the quiz. It's that experience is very lopsided. It's at the worker, not engaging the worker. So I think for companies to win the re-onboarding exercise, they're going to need to lean into technology that employees want to do, and it's something that they're excited about doing.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because sometimes those exercises can be the actual counterproductive thing, and you're trying to get some productivity out of workers. So what will the future of hybrid work technology look like?
The freedom to choose. It's, we've in many ways, we've been afraid of robots coming, but so many jobs have tried to turn workers into robots and humans into robots already. So hybrid work means that some people are coming back to the office a little bit, some people aren't at all. It means that during my workday, as long as I get my things done, as long as I get my tasks completed, whether I do that, in just shorts, or I do it in the evening, or I do it in the morning times, I think the companies that win at hybrid work are going to create a culture where the worker can choose how to use their time as long as they get their work done. But they're going to have a little bit more freedom around when they do it versus having a manager over their shoulder.
What products are being launched and created to make the post-pandemic work world more efficient?
Yeah, I think on that same point, there are good products and there are bad products. What's a bad product? There's a lot of stuff that's emerging where it's like tracking your eyes. I've seen the software the other day. It's tracking your eyes when you're on Zoom to make sure you're not doing other things. It's like surveillance technology. It's like TSA that's at my workstation. It just doesn't make sense. So there's bad tech that's emerging, but there's a lot of good tech. At One Huddle, we've built a platform where workers can upskill anytime, where, in this moment, 65% of the US workforce are Gen Z or millennial. They've spent over 10,000 hours on a game platform before they're 21. It's why we turned workforce training into a game. I think you're seeing other softwares that are going to take pre-existing habits and behaviors of their consumer, which is a worker, and lean into it to make the workplace experience better.
What do you see in 2022 when it comes to the labor market and what employees are looking for from companies, and how will things change in the future?
Yeah, I think that the labor market obviously swings sometimes towards the employer, and right now we're in a really big swing towards the employee. And I think that just because you survive COVID, it doesn't mean your business is going to survive 2022. So I think, we're not done. In 2022, companies are going to have to better invest in their people. They're going to have to better invest in their culture if they're going to want to keep them, because we're not through this yet.
Right. So let me throw one more question at you. From the employer's perspective, I feel like there needs to be some sort of a balance. It swung, to your point, one way and then it's going to the other. Sam, at the end of the day, work is called work for a reason, right? So do you think we're swaying too much to the employee side? Well, part of it too is somewhat being in person in the culture and learning from your managers and so forth. Do you think that technology platforms can really provide that same kind of experience?
The goal of technology and the opportunity for it in the workplace is to bring the most out of your people. And, this is where I think you're right. It is work for a reason. But, when you look at employees that are voluntarily quitting and are leaving the workplace, you don't hear them saying, it's only 50% of the reasons people are quitting. They're not saying it's pay related. So as an employer, that tells me that I need to find ways to make my workplace some place people actually want to come to. As a sports person, I never hear a coach at a press conference after a game saying, "We really stink at recruiting. I'm blaming the workers or the players for not showing up on my team." I think that in employers, this is a great opportunity for them to stand up and stand out and show why their workplace is the best place to be, and recruit their employees like they recruit customers. And if they do that, I think they'll maybe shake out some better ideas and better strategies than they're already employing.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Sam, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.